Soccer was the sport for our school. We had one of the best teams in the nation. I think my sophomore year, we were ranked number 3 in USA. I was like a second-class citizen playing football. I didn't play soccer and just wanted nothing to do with it. If I went back to 17-year-old Francisco and told him, look, by the time you're in your 30s and 40s, your favorite sport is going to be soccer, 17-year-old Francisco would be trying to slap me in the face, being like, that is not possible. For me, my mind started to change around soccer with the World Cup of 2006. One of my managers was actually going to the World Cup that year, and he started talking to me more about soccer and his excitement about it in general. I started actually watching it. Then I started to see the way that the ball moved and the way offensive and defensive movements would happen. And I was like, hey, this is really interesting and this is really cool. Data paints a picture of what I'm seeing on the field, and that's why it's so important, especially with Liverpool, because they were one of the first teams to bring in data scientists and really talk about how they use data to make better decisions on transfers and player profiles and all of these things. You can actually track how fast a player runs, you can track how far they've run, how many sprints they have, all during the game, and all this stuff can be measured. And you can also look at past injuries and see where those patterns start to repeat. And this is how data analytics actually evolved in sports. It started with baseball, with the whole Moneyball thing, and that ended up moving over to soccer because people started looking at it and said, hey, this is really important. We can use data. Well, how do we capture the data that's important to us? So you start changing slightly. That spurs another person to look at it and say, hey, I can build on that and I can add 1 to 2 layers to this. And now that data becomes much more powerful. Now for Solidigm at our work, now our challenge is how do we capture the data that we want to start filling in the picture that we have of what our business looks like. And if we can figure out ways to capture the data, now we can figure out ways to analyze the data on what's working and what's not. So in our distribution network, one of the ways I look at our business is when I look at all the different types of products that we sell and the different opportunities that they create. So I can find out and find little tidbits of where one customer is having a lot of success and try to help a customer understand how they could potentially replicate that. So when we say data, what we really mean is what are the possibilities of what data can get us and how can we creatively use it? How can we learn from it and get better every time? It's basically the story of evolution over and over again, and it's the evolution of our use of data. This year, the expectation globally is that 181 zettabytes of information will be generated. 1 zettabyte is equal to 1 billion terabytes. Over 99% is lost to us. That's insights that we're constantly losing. When we have larger drives to be able to capture that data, faster drives to be able to process and deliver that data, everything from space exploration, solving cancer, global inequities. These things can be solved if we start to learn from all of this data that we have. 17-year-old Cisco would look at me now and be like, you ended up in a business role. You didn't want to do anything with business. These are things that I never thought I would do, but I just took the wild ride and explored and learned, and it brought me to where I am.